3/4 of an inch, rather.
Okay, it's Monday, May 24th, 2021, 9 a.m. Wilson County Commissioners Court is now in session. We'll have the opening prayer by Reverend Adam Knapp, pastor of the United Methodist Church of Floresville. Reverend Knapp.
You all bow your heads and hearts with me. Lord, you are good. Your love endures forever. We thank you for the work that you have set before us. We thank you for this time together. God, I pray your blessing over this court, over our county judge, over our commissioners, over all of our public servants. I pray that you would continue to lead us and guide us in your way, that you would walk with us where we go, that you would in all your ways shine through us, so that those who come in contact with us might know you. I pray this in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Okay, moving along to agenda item number 3, which is public comments.
We have none at this time, Judge.
And then, moving right along to agenda item number 4, certificates of completion and awards. And we have, and then, this one, okay. The University of Texas at Austin LBJ School of Public Affairs Governor Center for Management Development. Continuing professional education credits. LBJ School of Public Affairs ID number 628 recognizes Brenda Trevino for satisfactory completion of the registered sponsor course number 21018 entitled New County Auditors Institute, conducted May 3rd, 2021, thereby qualifying for 8 of 8 CPE credits, which are registered with the Texas Board of Public Accountancy. Okay. Yay, Brenda. Okay, and now, certificate of completion. Richard Jackson, Gary Martin, Brenda Trevino, Kristen Labas, Michelle Mora, Leanne Hoshek, Lisa Kutzer, Cynthia Stafford, and Tamara Burleson have successfully completed tax cybersecurity awareness training 2021 certified. So, any more?
That's it, Judge.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and agenda item number 5, Richard L. Jackson County Judge, presentation of plaque to Jan Hartle, retiring county treasurer. And we have it right here. It doesn't, how many years, Jan? Oh, it is down at the bottom. I just got to do the adding. You do it, I won't have to. How many years?
Since 1992.
1992, October the 1st, 1992. Okay. Come on up and get all the commissioners in here. Let me read it first, hang on. County of Wilson, State of Texas, presented to Jan Hartle in recognition of your many years of service to Wilson County. With much appreciation and sincere gratitude, we wish you well. October 1, 1992 through May 31, 2021. Thank you.
Now Harmon can put you in that dump truck.
Drive a grain truck? You ever driven a grain truck before?
Good.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Jen.
Okay, moving along to agenda item number 7, Richard O. Jackson, item number 6, Gary Martin, Commissioner Precinct 1, discuss and possibly approve change order for installation of ballards at Wilson County Expo Center.
Okay, so as y'all recall, after we awarded this, one of the things that we looked at was having the contractor install the bollards, 4 bollards to put around the base of the sign. They've quoted us a price of $1,942.50, and I think it would be appropriate to add that to their scope so that we have that sign protected in case somebody runs off the highway.
How much was that?
$1,942.50.
And that's still gonna keep us way below what we had budgeted for that.
Yes, correct.
Okay,
So I'll make a motion to approve $1,942.50 as a change order to budget signs to install 4 bollards at the Expo Center.
I'll second.
motion by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Wiley, to install the bollards, and is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried, motion carries. So we're gonna get the bollards, are that gonna be done before the sign?
It'll be done in conjunction with it.
In conjunction with, okay. Moving to agenda item number 7, Richard O. Jackson County Judge, discuss and take action on approving disclosure statement, Gary Martin.
I have it right
You
here,
have it,
Judge.
okay.
Yes, sir. Right here.
Okay. Local government officer conflicts disclosure statement, okay, the name of, local government officer, M. Gary Martin, County Commissioner, Precinct 1, Wilson County. Name of vendor, Rush Enterprises, and description of the nature. My son is employee at Rush Enterprises. So that's just been disclosed. Is there any action that needs to be taken on that?
Catherine? No? Make a
Okay,
motion.
that's just, it's been disclosed, so we've got that done and we can move along. Okay, agenda item number 8, Gary Martin, Commissioner Precinct 1, Jim Stewart, County Sheriff, discussing possible action requesting funding for outfitting 3 sheriff vehicles.
So basically, Sheriff Stewart's getting 3 new vehicles here pretty soon. And in order to outfit those vehicles, he is asking for money that is not budgeted to outfit those vehicles. The reason that he's asking for these vehicles to be outfitted with new equipment is because everything that he has is old. And Sheriff, I'll let you take over at this point and explain to him what all you're going to put in.
Okay, everything in the fleet right now has been repurposed for years and years and years. And that includes the consoles, the radios. There aren't any electric or locking mechanisms for our rifles and shotguns mounted in any of these vehicles. So what I did is I reached out to a couple companies and got a bid, and Brenda has the copy. It was a wish list. I told them, what would it cost to outfit a vehicle if we had everything you could possibly want? They came back with $19,000 per car. That's way too much, and I know that, but a lot of that stuff is not items that you necessarily need. So we have been in the process, actually have a meeting tomorrow morning with them to sit down in person and go through line item in order to cut that back to what is necessity and then work forward. Looking at what I've done, I'm probably gonna be able to do it for between $15,000 and $16,000 per car. But at some point in time, I have to start, and if I don't do it on these 3, then I'm a year behind on the next year's vehicles of starting to upfit these cars with updated equipment. And what I'm asking for today is basically the $48,000 that wasn't budgeted to upfit 3 cars at $16,000 a piece.
What's the, I should know this, but I don't. What's the typical lifetime of a vehicle in the sheriff's department?
And that I'm still working on.
Okay.
I'm looking at the lifetime of these vehicles based on when they've been being turned in. they're running about between 20 and 30,000 miles a year. So I'm saying about 4 to 5 years, because they've been keeping them for about 130 to 145,000.
And the anticipated lifetime, I know we've been taking equipment out of the old ones and putting them in new ones. Would this equipment more than likely come out of one and go into the next generation vehicle?
In most of the equipment is, but whenever they change body styles or change the thing, then they could do that next year, or they could do it 4 years from now. So I'd hate to put down a guarantee, but as long as they don't change the basic body style,
Console and all of that?
the seating, the shape of the interior of the vehicle, because when you're talking about your partitions, cage, and stuff like that, if they make a major change, that one will not fit in the next one. So I hate to say how long. Normally, whatever their change order is, that's when you would see a change. But the locking mechanisms for the rifles, the siren box and all that stuff, that can move with the vehicle. But the console and the partitions is probably the two biggest things that the shape of the car or whatever determines whether or not it's fittable into the next one.
I didn't even consider.
Lifespan on that stuff should be 10 years. But whether or not, we'll make that change before it wears out is one thing. I couldn't mention, or even begin to guess at.
Gotcha.
Is that including radios too?
That's the only thing that's not including is radios. That 19,000 was even new radars, everything. And, which all our radars are way old too, but I'll work on those in another budget. Yeah, the only thing not in there, because a new radio in that car costs you $8,000 all by itself.
Alternative for the radio deal?
Well, and the radios may be a deal that we'll discuss at a later date and take care of that issue.
Brenda, how much was budgeted? Was any budgeted for,
There was no money budgeted for outfitting new vehicles in the previous administration. The vehicles themselves were budgeted only.
It's probably something that needs to be taken into consideration with every budget that comes along, is that there's gonna
Yes,
be
sir.
some need every year for,
And I just, so, there was 4 vehicles purchased prior to me. One of them we already received is the pickup truck. I found the money in my budget to outfit that one new. I found that in my budget to do that, so I've taken care of the pickup, is the 3 Tahoes that I knew I could not take care of out of the current budget. But in the future, and I think I even talked to Brenda about that anytime you budget a new vehicle, we need to budget into the cost of upfitting it, because some of the equipment will change.
I'll make a motion to authorize the sheriff to purchase his equipment for outfitting 3 new vehicles for a not-to-exceed amount of $48,000 from the contingency line item in the budget.
Okay, before we, we have a contingency fund for this,
We
correct?
do, we have a reserve for unexpected expenses, and the balance in that, line item is $230,845.28 as of today.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Perdola. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. So moving right along. Okay, Michelle's turn. Agenda item number 9, Richard L. Jackson County Judge Michelle Motor, Grants Manager. 9A, update on TCEQ ACOG Wilson County Collection Facility Expansion Project.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners, Sheriff. This, real quick update, we started this grant, December 2019. And we are coming to a close with it. We actually have completed the, construction services at the collection facility, and, turned in the third quarter report on Friday. But this quote, the two quotes that you have in front of you, refer to some extra money that ACOG has allocated towards this project. I've talked with Commissioner File about it. We had one project kind of in the works to use the money. I mentioned it last quarter, a couple quarters ago. The amount of money was $17,210 that was going to be given to Wilson County, basically free of charge. We would not have to match that with a local match. Since then, there have been other clients or grantees of ACOG that have come in under budget on their original projects. So there's actually more money, not just the $17,210. The latest quoted.
And we'll be available for that?
Yes, by y'all's networking and collaboration throughout the years, they have really put a priority on Wilson County's project, and they really want to give us this extra money.
How much do you think it might be?
The last quote that I got from Ms. Cook from ACOG was $25,500, which is basically what we paid for materials for the original construction project. She mentioned to me that she, as an option, if we can't come up with another option, that they could very well pay for the materials that we use to set that base pad out there, which would reduce our original contract amount, and they are more than amenable to doing that. The quotes that you have in front of you are chippers. So the first option was to put out a shed there and a public restroom, and I worked with Commissioner File on that to get the quotes and revise the statement of work very little. And Ms. Cook with ACOG ran that up to TCEQ, and unfortunately TCEQ denied that first project for the use of the extra money because it wasn't related to solid waste reduction remediation. So then she brought back some options about buying equipment. One of the pieces of equipment that she suggested was a chipper. I am aware that we do have a chipper with the county that's, I believe shared amongst the precincts.
It's not much of a chipper.
So,
It's an old chipper.
right, and I was aware that it was an old chipper. I know Commissioner Martin had expressed interest in purchasing a new chipper. Working with Commissioner Martin, he was able to get these quotes. There is a very broad spectrum of chippers. As you can see, you have a quote for $16,000, and then you have a quote for almost $90,000. It's kind of up to you all if you want to pursue that way. We can definitely look at other quotes possibly, look at other price ranges to see what we would get. I don't know which way you want to go on that. But do remember, you do have the option of having ACOG do a contract amendment and supplying the additional monies that they have allocated from other grantees that they weren't using to actually pay for the materials that we've already used. So you have the two options.
You have a need for a chipper out there?
I personally, like I told Michelle, I prefer not to get one because if we get a chipper, that means we're going to have to hire another employee. That's an extra expense that's going to be added to the collection. Right now, we just take the brush and we burn it.
So is this related just to the facility out there? Okay, so we couldn't get a chipper and use it potentially there and also in the precincts?
Well, I think the idea would be if you did get a chipper, it would be to centralize that, just like where the hope of the collection facility was to centralize the household hazardous waste collection events and so forth and so on. So I think that was the idea.
Now, you saying we can get that money from them and pay for the material? I didn't know that till now.
Yes.
I would prefer doing that and taking the money we use on the material to put in the public restrooms and restrooms out there in another building. We can get that done for less than that.
Now, the other option that was discussed too was
got to do that as well.
So that one, I talked with the ACOG rep and TCEQ, she said that seems like it would work. And TCEQ came back and asked if we had a tire recycling permit. And I
We're
said,
not
we
recycling.
don't recycle, that's why we don't have a permit. All we do is collect the tires and dispose of them through our, Republic, our contractor who takes the trash and waste to the landfill, to the collection facility. So I'm still waiting to hear back if that option is available still to us, or I hope to hear back today.
Okay, we're talking about a concrete slab with any kind of a covering over it?
Yes.
Okay.
And then with a compressor to run, to take the rims
Tire
off the
machine.
tires, should they come with rims.
But if we can get that extra,
Working conditions out there are pretty poor.
they are, and if we can get that extra money to pay for the base that we've already paid for, then we can turn around and use that money to build the restroom and
So
building.
if in order to do that, because we budgeted the money specifically for the collection facility project itself, the court would have to then approve a budget amendment to remove the money that was budgeted for the project and create and transfer that money into building repairs and maintenance, or wherever you want to transfer it from, because you have already approved that, whatever, 25,000, whatever we paid in materials specific to that project.
And what you're talking about would not be included in that project. It would be something
That is
we do.
correct. You would have to approve additional
A new
unbudgeted
project.
expense, basically.
So basically, once we let ACOG know what we want to do with the additional money, they'll go through with probably a contract amendment, then reimburse us for what we've already done, put out, and then as Brenda stated, we need to do.
That's my recommendation, is try to get that base paid for.
I think that's a logical move.
Yeah, if we, and then I think then the rest of it's just procedural for us to be able to,
And if we can hear from them about getting that concrete pad built with the extra other money,
Just keeping in mind that also thinking the opposite way of that, I mentioned to Michelle, this also gives the court an opportunity to approve the purchase of a somewhat expensive piece of equipment without it costing us anything either. So if that's something that you guys are thinking about in the future, that this is also an opportunity to make that purchase as well. Regardless of whether or not we don't have the budgeted extra staff that Commissioner File is talking about now, but we could potentially in a new budget or figure out how that's going to work. But I just want to make sure that we're clear that this is also an opportunity to buy equipment without it costing the county anything.
And I don't know if this grant will be available in years to come right now.
yeah, I got a price on the smallest chipper and the biggest one. So there's like 8 or 10 models in between these two. There's like 10 or 12 total. And so I know we can find something in between. Now, I mean, I talked to my staff, and I have a couple guys that work for Phelps and use chippers and all of that, and they said, without a doubt, don't even think about buying a small one, because it just won't do
No.
enough. And while the big one, I mean, it has a pretty big throat capacity at 19 inches, so you could put a pretty good-sized log into that thing, and it would take care of it, but I don't think that's what we're really focused on. Probably something in between there. So, I mean, if you want, I'll go in. Now, so basically, if I added this up right, we've got about $42,710. The 17,210 plus 25,500.
No, it would be a total of 25.5.
Oh, it'd be a total of 20.
Total of 25.
Okay, well then, probably then, never mind, that won't work, because that'll barely step us up to the next one from the smallest one, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did the same thing Commissioner Martin did. I added them together.
I'm sorry, I didn't make that clear.
Okay, is this something we need to take action on today?
I don't,
I-
I mean,
If you don't, it's just delaying another
Right,
2 weeks before ACOG, we can give ACOG an
Yeah.
answer.
but I guess we don't have the answer, though.
So are
We
we
don't-
currently burning brush out there? Do we have to have approval from ACOG to do that?
You, and
Not ACOG, TCEQ.
TCEQ?
Javier calls Edwin and Edwin calls them. We have a permit to do that out there.
And if we chip it, you're gonna have big piles of chipped. What do you do with that?
Well, I talked to Mr. Trevino because one of the challenges I have is I have like over 1,000 yards of just dirt that I need to get rid of. And I said, well, and if we get a chipper, then we'll have chips. And so I'm not going to put words in your mouth, so I'll let you tell them what we discussed in regards to what we could do with that excess material.
Well, I mean, it's just a matter of implementing a process of what we're gonna do. Michelle and I talked about too. I mean, there's so many different things we can do, whether it's offering the miles of piled dirt and sand that Commissioner Martin has at his precinct, at his yard, or all of the shipping stuff, offering it to the community to pick up on certain days. I mean, there's just a multitude of different ways, but we definitely do need to implement some type of process if that's what we're gonna do. I share with Commissioner Martin, it's my recommendation on the dirt that he has. There's no, we have no record of any expense incurred from the county in terms of buying that. It's just piles and piles of old stuff. So if he wanted to set a date and open it up to the county for people to go load it themselves and take it to clear off his yard, or he can spread it on his yard. And I would assume that we would come up with a similar process if we were to buy a chipper and.
As long as we're allowed to burn is probably the
Least expensive.
least expensive and the most simple. If you run it through a chipper and give it away, which would be fine, except you gotta have somebody, you have to have the means to load it and somebody to load it, and so, that could be labor intensive.
Well, what I discussed with Mr. Trevino was not expending county funds for people to load it. If they want it, they can bring their truck back up, bring a shovel or pitchfork or whatever, and put it in their truck.
Yeah, but it won't work. I mean, it sounds good, but I don't think that'll happen.
Well, that's basically what they do in San Antonio.
Really?
Yeah.
I know in Comel County, they got loaders there, the skid loaders, they load up people. They got a big pile, but it's a big, big chipper. And it's very, I just don't want to get into that big of,
Michelle, didn't
Right
you
now.
mention that it was
Well,
up to a certain population that we could only burn up to? Was it Commissioner Pyle?
Well,
When
it's
somebody
probably me,
mentioned that
but
once we
I,
reach a certain population
we have
size,
a
we
permit
can't.
for there, we have a permit for precinct one's yard, and Edwin went through that, and we notify Edwin before we burn, and he notifies TCEQ, and it's all fine.
No, what I'm asking is, I thought someone mentioned that up to a certain population, counties cannot burn the brush.
I think
anymore.
it's 50,000. That was me.
Oh, okay, I couldn't remember who told me
Yeah.
that. Someone told that to me.
Yeah, so we're on that cusp, and once we have our census numbers, then we'll know where we sit, which I'm sure it's gonna be north of that.
We might want to get a clarification on the population.
I'd say as long as we've got a burn permit, that's gonna be our most economical way
Exactly.
to handle this.
Yeah, I agree.
Mr. Cordola's right. Because another thing too, you start chipping it and people quit, you can get a pretty good pile pretty fast.
Real quick.
And you'll have to buy some type of grapples to go on the front of the loader or the skid steer to handle it, because one man can't handle all
No.
the brush. No way.
I mean, do we want to go ahead and approve trying to collect that money for paying for the base, or?
So, that's an option, yes. We can go ahead and make a motion and approve the contract amendment, what would eventually be the contract amendment to reduce our overall project cost and to allow, ACOG to fund basically our materials cost for the project.
I'll make that motion.
So then, in other words, that would reduce that cost by the 17, or the 25.5?
So we would be out of pocket in our cash match by like a little over 3,000. The cash match was 28,457 and 50 cents. So it would be slightly over 3,000.
So that'll give us 25,500 to work with the slab the whatever it takes to get a place to mess with?
Yes.
If they allow us to do the tires? If we have to
Yeah,
have
and
do we,
that's-
if we have to have a permit to do
Well,
that?
that's the verdict out, verdict is out on that. She is
Okay.
checking with TCEQ, but I made it very clear to her that we do not process them, we simply collect them. And, we'll see how, TCEQ interprets that.
I don't think that would be a problem, but it's, you never know. They,
You never know.
yeah.
Got a
Okay, so
motion on the
tell me,
floor?
Judge, what is the motion on the floor again? 'Cause-
Okay, can you explain the
The
motion?
motion is to,
Amend it.
have the Commissioners Court approve the ACOG TCEQ contract amendment to reduce the overall project cost, to allow ACOG's additional funding of $25,500 to be allocated towards our incurred expense of materials for the project.
I'll second that if I don't have to say it.
So who was
Agree with that.
Okay,
Paul?
Commissioner Fowle, motion by Commissioner Fowle, second by Commissioner Wiley. Is there any more discussion? Anybody want that repeated again?
Say it
Okay,
again.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So we've got 9A taken care of. Now we're going to 9B, discuss and ratify the submission of initial request for Wilson County's Coronavirus State and Local Recovery Fund, CSLRF allocation, and as administered by the 2021 American Rescue Plan Act. Okay. Get a PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I thought I'd put a PowerPoint presentation.
Read all
Go ahead, Vicky. It's fine. So the agenda that we're gonna talk about, the basics, basically what it is, things for you all to consider, spending the money, and of course, the fund reporting requirements. So, the interim rule, and as you know, the act has been signed into law earlier this year. The interim rule has been published as of May 10th and is out for comment. You actually, as a public, as citizens, as elected officials, can review the interim rule and provide feedback to the Department of Treasury at this site that I have provided for you. Totally recommend that everybody do that. That it's a great thing to be an active citizen in our country here nowadays. So, as I have, put on the court agenda to ratify this submission, there were a few items needed to get the process started, which was an interesting, process. There was a facial recognition required, and our DUNS number, our financial institution, the authorizing representative, which of course is the county judge, the contact person who would be dealing with the, ins and outs and daily project management of the funds, which was me, and then, his signature on the last thing. And we did that through an electronic signature, DocuSign, on May 17th, last Monday. And as I understand it, the process in total takes about 4 business days, and we could have the money as early as today, probably.
We did get it this
We
morning.
did? Great. Next slide. The distribution of funds, so there's 2 disbursements, as we got one today, so you can count on as soon as they certify that, which I don't know what that means in their world, but probably around this time next year, we will get the second distribution. How much was it?
4.9 and some change.
4.9 that we received today. The important dates of this stimulus package, obviously are beginning, public emergencies that has been put in the books is January 27th, 2020. We can use this money for any expenses incurred starting this year, March 3rd. And then all the funds have to be obligated, put into purchase orders, encumbered by December 31st, 2024. And then everything has to be finalized and reported on by December 31st, 2026.
Can projects be started, say, in December of '24? And not finished,
Yes.
but not completely funded until,
As long as the money's encumbered, that's how I interpret it.
okay.
Things to consider as elected officials. For infrastructure projects, the NEPA will not be required. You can transfer the money to special districts, nonprofits, and even back to our lovely state of Texas. Their suggestion was for us to use possibly, or consider to use this first disbursement as a revenue replacement. So any monies that we lost, perhaps we can allocate that towards that, and that is an eligible use, and then get creative afterward. So for the consideration for you all, form a committee, board, or task force to manage and have sounding boards and brainstorm about projects that would benefit the county as a whole, solicit community input, provide the regular public updates, and then of course address those needs and issues and be able to explain not only the needs and issues and how they relate to the pandemic, but also the expenditure associated with it. And obviously their recommendation is, as a course of what is required, it has to be connected to the pandemic. Next slide.
I guess you can be a little creative, maybe.
We'll see. Go ahead, next slide. So eligible uses, responding to the public health emergency, responding to the negative economic impacts that our community received and realized, revenue loss. And then, of course, water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure has been identified by the Department of Treasury as good uses of this money. Examples of public health response, obviously mitigation and prevention activities, the medical expenses for COVID testing, and then of course, public health and safety payroll and benefits, those are all eligible uses. Negative economic impacts, so a big push in the interfinal rule was helping households, helping the actual homeowner or rental renter. So they really are pushing that household and housing part of this stimulus bill. And of course, assisting small businesses, if we lost any staff due to just not being able to use them during this time, now is the time to be able to rehire them. And then, of course, aiding any adversely impacted industries that took a big hit during this pandemic for our community, which I think, we fared well, mostly, but, there are some areas where we can definitely put the money to good use. Next. And of course, revenue loss, comparing the actual pandemic era revenue to, if the pandemic had not occurred. And the Department of Treasury is allowing 4 dates to calculate that, not only last year, December 31st, 2020, but the same time, December 30th, 2021, 2022, and 2023. So, and this last bullet, I'm gonna talk a little bit about broad latitude to use funds for provision of government services such as infrastructure maintenance. So this actually just came out Friday in something that I was reading with the National Association of Counties. They actually are allowing this money to be used for roadway infrastructure maintenance. I did see that in the literature. So that is something that the board committee who's going to be appointed for this should possibly consider. It will be, interesting to see once we get assigned an internal project manager with the Department of Treasury or the state, me asking them bunches of questions, like how is that gonna be related to the pandemic, so, but it was in the literature, so I do wanna put that out there. Water and sewer infrastructure, upgrading building facilities, even possibly constructing a publicly owned facility, if that's something the commissioners wanna consider, which, you know, I know that's a big endeavor, but, that is part of the eligible uses. So it really is, they're really not putting as many limits on this bill as they did the Corona Relief Fund. And something to think about, build back better, you know, have a resiliency for the next pandemic if there should be one, or next natural disaster. Have a redundancy plan, that's what they're thinking, with as much money as what we're receiving, so keep that in mind. Broadband infrastructure, you know, they want us to focus on the unserved or the underserved, which I think we can all relate to in the unincorporated Wilson County with this particular issue. That we have a lot of service providers, but not necessarily reliable internet, service.
That's a big one.
Yeah, it is a big one. I think it would be, it would be a great win-win for this county, if that's what the board wants to do. Prioritize last mile connections to households and businesses. Layton, I don't know, I hate to put you on the spot, I'm not an expert in this stuff, but build reliable 100 unless hindered by topography and geography. I don't know if any of that you can speak to, if that educate the commissioners on what that actually means.
I mean, for the most part, that just means that building a system that is structurally sound to anybody that it can reach without having to worry about, you know, hills and just a long, long distance. So mainly, I would think within the town and maybe a mile or two out, before it starts becoming a struggle and a lot of money to try to run everything out there. So.
Because I do know that sometimes being in lulls and valleys, the internet is not as reliable. Pursuing fiber optic infrastructure where possible and feasible, and then prioritize support for networks owned, operated, and affiliated with local governments, nonprofits. Next slide. And eligible uses. Cannot use it for offsetting taxes, tax cuts. Cannot use for pension plans or rainy day funds. I know I had said in an email about rainy day, and what I meant, let me clarify that, was kind of like what I had said earlier, was use the money in the first part of it for revenue loss recovery, and then plan for the next few years out, to see how we can use that money a little bit better. You cannot use it for funding debt service, legal settlements, or matching funds unless the federal program allows it. And then, of course, general infrastructure spending outside of that broadband, water, and sewer. So a little comic relief. Grant writing right up the deadline of the that's how I feel after I reconcile the grants. Reporting structure, direct recipients, which we are not, are required to submit one interim report and quarterly project and expenditure reports through December 31st, 2026. Non-entitled units, which we are not required to submit an interim report or recovery performance report. And that performance recovery report is basically what I had mentioned to Brenda and a couple of the commissioners is these bigger recipients that receive more money really do have to put a entire plan together on how they plan to spend all that money, and then show progress, and they have to do it within the timeframe allotted to them. So that's a good thing that we're not that. But we are required to submit annual project and expenditure reports through the performance period, which is December 31st, 2026. And they do specifically state that we have to keep all these documents for 5 years after the funds are completed.
If we don't have to read the reports, how are we gonna know that they're gonna accept what we're gonna do?
By communicating with them.
Okay.
Which is what I did with the coronavirus relief fund. I would not, before, I know a few people came to me asking, is this an eligible use? And I would literally get on the phone and email the state to see if those expenditures were going to be eligible. So that's,
And just for clarification, we do have to annually, we just don't have to do it interimly during the quarter.
But I'd hate to submit an annual report and then come back and say, hey, that wasn't eligible.
Oh, no, I think it would definitely be clarified beforehand.
I'm too confused with the question.
I know, it's a lot of information, but I wanted to make sure that we had all that information.
We submitted the application and we've got the money, now we need to ratify it.
Yes, so if we can get y'all's approval to ratify that submission and accept those monies.
I'll make a motion to ratify the submission of the initial request for Wilson County's Coronavirus State and Local Recovery Fund.
Motion by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Prodola, that we ratify the application and the receiving of the money. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, let's see, let's go to 9B1, discuss and take action on appointing a committee to manage CSLRF program and provide recommendations to the court for consideration.
All right. So as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, I worked with Brenda and the judge to inform everyone about getting started in planning, since this is a bunch of money, we need to start now. And what was decided and what we thought, well, I shouldn't say decided, what was thought of was that we create a board of a couple of elected officials and some very important people that would provide valuable input into how to spend the money and to brainstorm. And what came to be was, what was suggested was Brenda Trevino and I would facilitate, just being the sounding board, much like how we did the grant program for the Coronavirus Relief Fund, but on a little bit larger scale. What was suggested as well was Commissioner Martin. The judge would like to be involved as well. Leanne Hoshek, to help with the emergency management plans. John Holcomb, and Jim Stewart.
Sounds good to me.
So Commissioner Wiley, if you remember, and Paul may remember too, when we did the Wilson County CARES grant last year, it would be a similar process like Michelle mentioned. We would have meetings with the committee, outline how the project, take each individual project, whatever those projects are that the committee's going to recommend to the court, and have it where it's full scale, all the nuts and bolts are in place, because we're talking a lot of work. It's a lot more work than our Wilson County CARES grant application that the last committee worked on. So, and I think we were very, very successful with that. So we like to see the process remain the same, where we have the meetings and everything is outlined correctly.
Right, and so the idea is for the committee to get together, of course, be educated on what you all just learned now, identify potential projects, and then whether it's emergency management, communications, infrastructure, broadband, get those folks involved as well to do some of that research, like the internet broadband and John Holcomb, being able to reach out to the service providers to understand what we actually need, what the cost of it's going to be, emergency management, whether, building another facility, would envision that the grants department would do some of that research as much as we can help John or Leanne or the sheriff or whoever, so that we can pull it all together and have the meetings that we need to have.
Yeah.
to discuss it.
With that being said, one of the things too that I would ask the court is to be patient with us, because we're not going to be able to tackle every single area all at once. It was my recommendation that we take one project at a time and take it from A to Z. Yes, looking forward to the continued planning, but that we take, little bites of this huge elephant and make sure we do it right and do it well, and then move forward to the next project and to the next project, so that you guys aren't asking, well, what about this, and what about this, and can we work on the fiber optic, and can we work on the water infrastructure, and our hands are full, so,
So you're suggesting that you prioritize the projects,
correct,
and then within the projects, prioritize each project within the project,
absolutely.
all right? I'm going to attempt to make a motion here that we appoint a committee to manage the CSLRF program consisting of Brenda, Michelle, Commissioner Martin, the judge, Leanne, John Holcomb, and Sheriff Stewart.
Can I add one more? I know Judge Kennedy, she's working with the historical group and all of the elderly group that's out there. I know she's gotten some information, research already.
My suggestion would be that when we do that part, when we get to that, when you prioritize the committees, and then when you do the committees one by one, that when you do that you might look at detail into other folks who can support those committees.
Like, we discussed subcommittees after.
After you appoint the committees.
Correct.
And have like advisors outside that have the experts.
So my recommendation ends with Sheriff Stewart, the motion that I put on the floor.
Second.
Okay. Can you read those again?
Sure, we have Brenda, Michelle, Commissioner Martin, the judge, Leanne, John Holcomb, and Sheriff Stewart.
Okay. There's 7?
That's a good number.
And Brenda and myself are non-voting, we're just facilitating the conversation.
Well, the actual voting for approval will come through Commissioner's Court.
Right.
But this would just be something to present to Commissioner's Court.
Yeah, I guess you'd have to vote to bring something to court.
Okay.
So we've got an odd number, and that's,
Or a recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got the motion by Commissioner Wiley and a
I
second.
got one more question before we vote. So, and maybe this is where we get into consideration and discuss this, but where are we going to do the public input part of it? At the committee level or just at the court level?
I think that's something for the committee to decide. I think that's something for you all to really, because you could make it a great, nice program, and you could do it at the committee level, or you could do it at the court level. And we could just, send it out, advertising in that way too, so
to me,
I think that's something for the committee to definitely.
to me, it would be better to do it in bite-sized chunks. If you try to do it on a broad level, you've got so much input from so many directions that you can't, I'm not a baker, but you can't bake with too many ingredients. I think you decide if you're going to make a pie or make a cake, and then discuss whether it's going to be apple or cherry.
Okay, here's another consideration that, okay, you won't do one project at a time, okay? We have until April of 2024, okay? And it seems like there's lots of time. Okay, but if you do one project at a time and those projects get lengthy, then you're gonna be getting up there to the end of it, and oh my gosh, we got a whole lot of money to spend, or a lot of things to do. So, and of course, I guess this is something that can be decided in the committee. Once you get started, once you get the first project and it gets rolling, then start considering the second project. Don't just wait until that's all
Yeah,
done. But that's the impression that I was given, that we're gonna start the project 1 and then right there at the end, then do project 2. We need,
I-
we need to have a couple of things or three things going at one time. Maybe not all, however many lists,
I
because
think you can stagger it, I think you can catch it up and stagger it.
I've got a list of about 10 things that,
I would think they'd be overlapping, Judge. You know, just start one and get it set, and then start the other, and then just essentially, you know, I would think by the end of the year, we'd want to have a pretty good idea of what all the projects were. And some of them might be actively working on, and some you might be waiting a bit, but I would think that those would need to be identified right away. And then you can break down into subgroups so that the citizens that are interested in each one of these can know what they're interested in.
And I was thinking, over the weekend, you know, we could even use the grant's email address to, if you have input and would like to provide it, we set up the grant's email address, during the coronavirus, I think.
The CARES.
Yeah, the CARES, and, it's still active, and that can be used as an input solicitation thing, mechanism as well.
okay,
Now, you
back to,
You did say that it could be used for roads, right?
Yes, I don't know in what capacity. That was literature I read on Friday. It did, from the National Association of Counties, it did indicate that there was, some leeway for roadway infrastructure maintenance.
Right, and I think that's something to be clear about, is that things evolve every single day
Right.
with the Treasury. So be careful with what we're sharing in terms of what it can and can't be used for, because tomorrow it may change, or somebody's interpretation of, yes, we can use it for roads is something different to the Treasury, and then we're stuck with,
Right, and
Our
that's
foot
why
in
I
our mouth,
said
yeah.
earlier that it would be incumbent upon me to get that, those finite details about what
Yeah.
that is actually meant by that can be used for. And just to iterate again, with the coronavirus relief fund, that changed almost every single day, it changed almost monthly. Now, I do think.
that's a
this-
state, this is federal.
Well, and that, with that, Judge, they indicated these non-entitled units may be working through the state. There was literature, that said, that, there might be, that distribution or some kind of collaboration with the state. So, I haven't seen any emails from the actual Department of the Treasury, saying that we have been dispersed the money. So it may be something that the state will take on from here, so it's just.
Right, and I guess,
It's evolution.
well, and I guess to that point is, as you pointed out, this is only an interim rule, so
Yes.
if you want to make a comment, like, you want to make sure it's good for some specific thing, you need to make that comment. And so the rule won't be final, what was it, July 24th or,
July 16th,
or
I think.
whatever the day was, so there's only a short period of time
Yeah,
they'll take
and-
comments and.
and the National Association of Counties sent out a pretty lengthy letter to the Department of Treasury with specific questions and is awaiting a response. So hopefully, but the Treasury comes out with something new every single day. So, and it's just, that's why I go back to just be patient, because it's gonna change.
You know, going back to the CRF now, while I think they've learned a lot from that stimulus package, in the beginning of the CRF, they said no salaries that you already budgeted for public health and safety could be used in the reconciliation and incurring those expenses. And at the end, they changed their mind. So literally, at the end, it was October 28th last year that they changed their mind, that you could use those.
Okay,
So-
but if they're not gonna change their mind and to say, oh, we decided we're not gonna allow that. Say like this infrastructure maintenance.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we don't count on you doing something, building a bridge or
Sure.
building a new road or something like that. And then all of a sudden, oh, gosh, we changed our mind, we're not gonna,
Can we get that clarified before we start
That's
that
what I-
project?
Well, and I think that's what, Brendan had mentioned about, and Commissioner Martin had mentioned about providing that feedback to the Department of Treasury, whether it's you all or the public or whatnot, to get that clarification now before July 16th, and then close it, make the interim final rule final.
Midterm elections could even have an
if you
impact.
have two governments above us that are deciding, okay, then the federal government says, here's the money, do that, and then the state's gonna look at it and say, oh, no, let's not let them use that.
It's important to get that information.
I know y'all have lots of questions. I can see y'all's minds going. Y'all are just gonna have to trust that we will share the information as soon as we get it.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second, a motion by Commissioner Wiley, second by Commissioner Martin, to form the committee and, come back with information and recommendations to the court. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. So let's move right on along to 9C, discuss and ratify the submission of the renewal application of the Department of State Health Services contract number HHS 001030200001 for the Regional Local Services System Local Public Health Services Grant Program. And that's for Edwin Baker.
Yes, this is one of Edwin's grants. This is a renewal of his grant that provides some funding for his salary. This is for next fiscal year through 2023. The amount awarded is $26,888 to be split in 2 years, $13,444 for next fiscal year, and then $13,444 for the following fiscal year. This is just a renewal. We've had this grant for some time now, so.
And we filled it out the other day, and they asked for extra information that we didn't even have. And we still don't have. But we got it and everything's good.
The different ID numbers.
Well, I'll make a motion, we approve this too, Judge.
Motion by Commissioner Wiley, second by Commissioner Fowle, that we approve the ratification of the submission of this application for the grant. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. So, thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on along, it's Leanne's turn. Leanne Hoshek, EMC. 10A, utility permits, okay, 10A1. Are these all the same? Nope, we can do 1 and 2. Permit 639, Three Oaks Water Supply Corporation, Precinct 2, County Road 144, review and approve. And 10A2, permit number 640, Three Oaks Water Supply Corporation, Precinct 2, County Road 216, review and approve.
I've already seen them, so I can make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Fall, second by Commissioner Martin, we approve the permits.
For precinct 2? Okay.
Precinct 2.
These are all water permits, aren't they?
Yes.
Yes.
Were they both just crossing the roads?
Yes, they're born the road.
They're boring the roads? Okay. We got a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Both of them pass. Okay, we're going to 10A3, permit number 641, East Central SUD, Precinct 3, County Road 345, review and approve.
I'll make a motion that we approve the permit 641 for East Central Water Supply.
I'll second that one, Judge.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Perdola, second by Commissioner Wiley. We approve permit number 641. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This one passes. That goes with those. Okay, now we're going to 10B, private water line permit, 10B1, permit number 005, Parish, Precinct 4, County Road 421, review and approve.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, because here's
Judge, I spoke with the individual involved. They're going to do a road bore with the casing to supply water to a cattle operation. And I make a motion that we approve it.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Wiley, second by Commissioner Martin, that we approve permit number 005. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resort Stokes.
right at 775.
Okay, now we're going to 10C subdivision, Arched Oak subdivision. 10C1, review and approve final plat. Discuss and take action.
Okay, this is a 33-lot residential subdivision in precinct 1. It's there at the intersection of 181 and 775. This subdivision has lots that are a little bit less than an acre, so we have to meet our dense lot spacing requirements. And they've been through the committees, met all the met all the requirements, and have been given a favorable recommendation by the committee. And if y'all have any questions, Mr. Brady Baggs is right there. He's the agent on behalf of the developer, which is MI Homes. This is the first development they're doing in Wilson County.
This is their first really small acreage development, isn't it?
I'll make a motion to approve the final plat for the Arched Oak subdivision.
Motion by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Fowle, that we approve the final plat of Arched Oak subdivision. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Just for the, you got another one we're gonna do? Okay.
Yes, there's two,
Well,
just the top page.
okay, now we're going to 10C2, discuss and take action on acceptance of bond, $393,810.10.
And that is the bond for the road and drainage improvements.
I'll make a motion to accept the bond of $393,810.10 for the Arched Oak subdivision.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Wiley, that we approve the bond. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Looks like you've got a subdivision. Okay. Agenda item 11, Jan Hartle County Treasurer Financial Report, and there's none here, I guess not. You have anything? No? Okay. So, agenda item number 12, Jalen T. Butterford, Human Resource General Specialist, Payroll and Personnel Changes.
We have Sheriff's Department making $23.81 per hour, $52,000 annually effective April 28th. Rebecca Bennett obtained her Master Telecommunicator certificate and will receive a $25 per month increase. Richard Nichols was promoted to patrol deputy and will be making $20.60 per hour, $45,000 annually effective May 17th. Kelly Trevino was demoted to corrections officer and will be making $14.65 per hour, $32,000 annually effective May 17th. And Rodney Dennis was transferred. That was a lateral transfer to the courthouse security with the same pay effective May 17th. And then retirements, Jan Hartle will retire from her position as county treasurer effective May 31st.
Thank you. There's no line item changes. Okay, this is it. Agenda item 13, Brenda L. Trevino, County Auditor, bills.
I have bills totaling $218,560.50. 218,560 and 50 cents.
Is there a septic tank at the collection facility?
A what?
A septic tank?
No.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
Motion by Commissioner Martin,
Second.
second by Commissioner Pardola, that we approve the bills. Is there any questions or changes or discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It's done, and this is the one we're all been waiting for at 10:14, we're adjourned.